As if leading and communicating through change weren't difficult enough already with the speed of technology and how fast everything's moving, along came COVID. And that turned out for a lot of organizations to be difficult beyond their ability to cope with. The WHO, the CDC, the US government, lots of other governments around the world, lots of other organizations had their trust and believability ratings eviscerated. And I'm not on the inside of those organizations, but from the outside, it sure seemed like a lot of that was self-inflicted. So I think it's important for us to start out as we talk about leading through change with the recognition that once you lose people's trust, it's nearly impossible to recover it. So as leaders and communicators, I want to give you an exercise today that can make an enormous difference for your leadership and your communication, especially in times of great change, disruption, and stress. But first, I want to start with three basic facts that I think really matter when it comes to leading through change. And I think that they are, immutable laws when it comes to this. So let's start with those, and then I'll give you a fabulous exercise. So the first one is a recognition of what Tony Hsieh said. Tony Hsieh said, transparency is happening. And I think it's worth noting that with social media, with, news traveling around the globe at the speed of light, everyone having a cell phone, people recording all the time, transparency is happening. And I'd like to add, transparency is happening, yes, and it's way better when you do it than when it happens to you. So I think enough said about that. I do think that lack of transparency and the thought that somehow they could get around transparency is one of the things that really whacked a lot of these institutions during the COVID-19 pandemic, because people just felt lied to and manipulated. That will never work. I believe that will never work. Second, where you're coming from matters. As human beings, we all have mirror neurons, and mirror neurons are in our bodies, and they have us feel what we see other humans going through and experiencing. And over tens of thousands of years of living together in small, close, tight-knit groups, we have gotten exceedingly good at reading each other. So if your motivation is off, if it's selfish or if it's slanted, even if people don't realize they know, people will know. I believe that you cannot fool people about your fundamental motivations, and trying to do that never works out. Third, telling the truth and authenticity really matter. My assumption is that you're on the light side of the force, that you will tell the truth and be authentic in all of your communication. And I want to acknowledge that it's a grown-up world out there. You don't have to tell everybody everything all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But you do need to tell the truth all the time. And if you're being inauthentic, people will definitely know. However, I don't mean that 5-year-old authenticity that some people seem to be talking about. It's not just blurting out everything that goes through your mind and calling that authentic. I'm talking about deep authenticity, authenticity that takes into account your perspective, your employees' perspective, those you're leading's perspective, the bigger perspective of all of your stakeholders, and then being authentic from that place. And telling the truth, and being authentic absolutely matter. And one of my core beliefs as a leader and as a human being is that people can hear anything. That sounds scary, I know, but if your team can't handle it, then I think you had a much bigger problem already in your hiring. And if you believe that they can handle it, you support them in handling it, and you give them the chance, I very much believe that they can handle it. So if you're aligned with those three, what I call facts, here's an exercise that will make a life-altering difference for you in leading through change. And it'll make an enormous difference for your executive presence and how you show up anywhere. And I know from past experience that you might resist this a little bit. So here's what I'll do. I promise at the end of giving you this exercise, I will explain the science behind it that makes it so incredibly important. So here we go. This is an exercise for leading through change that I call creating yourself and creating your audience. And it's the thing that I do before any high-level communication event that I ever have. And it's something that I highly recommend you take into the world of leadership and communication everywhere, but especially in times of great change and disruption. So it's a two-step process that you do twice. Step one, step two for your audience, and then step one, step two for yourself. So same steps, but once for the audience, once for yourself. And then there's a third part, which is access to success with this. So here we go. Step number one, I'm going to create you, my audience first, then I'll create myself, and then I'll give you step three. So step one of creating the audience is I'm going to put the monkey mind on loudspeaker about you, the audience. But first, let's meet the monkey mind. So just be with me here for a moment. I'm going to introduce you to the monkey mind. Monkey mind? Well, I don't have a monkey mind. Maybe he has a monkey mind. How did I get here anyway? Like, look at that goofy background. Oh, Performance Institute. That's right. Okay. Did you hear it? That voice that was just chattering and chattering in your head while we were just being here together? That is the monkey mind. That's what the Buddhists call it. I call it your crazy roommate. It's something that comes free in the box with every human being, and you can't turn it off. You can maybe turn it down a little bit, but it's always going to be there, and everybody's got one. So here's the first thing to realize. That voice is not you. You are the big silent presence listening to that voice, and you have a choice. You don't have to do what it says, and you're not even responsible for what it says. So that's the monkey mind. So step one is put the monkey mind on loudspeaker. Say it out loud so you can hear it with your own ears. No one else has to be around, but you've got to say it out loud so you can hear it. So here's what the monkey mind is saying about you. Oh, these are all people that work with government. They just care about their pensions. They're never going to listen to you. They're judging you. They think you're better than they are. They're not the kind of people who are going to ever try this. Like blah, 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 right? I'm not responsible for that. That's my monkey mind. That's my crazy roommate. But that's what it's saying about my audience. So I say it out loud so that I can get it out of the driver's seat and put it in the back seat and belt it in. So now I've got that monkey mind out of the front seat and into the driver's seat. I'm going to create something. So that's step two. Step one is monkey mind on loudspeaker, get it out of the front seat into the back seat, belt it in. And now step two is create something that would inspire me to have in the driver's seat. So here's who you really are for me as I create it and put it in the driver's seat. You are excellent communicator. You are an excellent communicator who is interested and courageous. And you also are living a life of service. That's way more inspiring to me. than the first one. So that's step 1 and 2 for the audience. So now step 1 and 2 for me. What's the monkey mind saying about me? It's okay. Here's the monkey mind about me. Oh my gosh, I'm an imposter. If they only knew, I'm not good enough. No, I'm too good. They're not paying me enough. No, they're paying me too much. No, they're not paying me enough. Like they're never going to listen. They're judging me. Oh my gosh, I should just get out of here. Okay, blah, 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 monkey mind. So I say it out loud so I can get it out of the driver's seat and into the back seat and belt it in. And now into the driver's seat for me, here's what I'm going to put. Because I say so, I am the drill instructor for your greatness. I'm over there in your world and I'm playful mastery. That's who I'm going to be for you. That's how I'm going to show up. And I don't know if you can hear it, but the monkey is shouting, who says you have mastery? You don't have mastery. You should just shut up. Hurry, get off this call, leave, go. Okay, I've learned I just do better when I don't listen to that thing. So 2 steps you do twice. Put the monkey mind on loudspeaker, first for the audience, then for yourself, and then create something to go into that driver's seat that inspires you for the audience and for yourself. So that's the 2-step process. Now, part 3, access to success with this. I'll say it this way. Do you want to know what I'm loving it looks like in Slovakia? Central Europe, very, very Central Europe. Okay, here's I'm loving it in Slovakia. Okay, I'm in Slovakia doing my training. First time for a really big group, got about 150 people, 10 top tables all over. And everyone is looking at me like that. And at first, I'm like, oh, well, it's a former communist country. It takes them a little while to warm up. It'll be okay. No. On and on and on. It was a half-day training all day, all that half day. Everyone looked at me like that. Old, young, men, women, everybody giving me that look. So my monkey mind was shouting, get out of here. They're going to crucify you. They're hating it. Yeah, but I kept coming back to what I created. I kept bringing myself back to I'm the drill instructor for their greatness. They're interested, courageous. And at the end of that half-day training, I was done. So I looked out and I said, thank you very much. And for a moment, there was this deafening silence. And I actually had time to think, maybe this is going to go badly. And then everyone leaped to their feet. The entire room leaped to their feet, gave me a rousing standing ovation, stomping, whistling. And then people waited, some of them for more than an hour, to come talk to me. And all of them said something like this: thank you for coming, John. Slovakia needs you. And I was like, why didn't you tell your face that like 3 hours ago? But that's just how it was in Slovakia. That's just how it went. So the fact that I had practiced hanging in there, that's the third piece. Hang in there. I had practiced keeping that in the driver's seat and not letting the monkey back into the driver's seat, and keeping that monkey mind, all that nasty stuff it's saying, in the back seat, and coming from what I had created. Now, that may sound a little California woo-woo to you, but let me give you the science underneath it. We all make, all day long, all of us make facial micro expressions. And we have body language that's completely, totally unconscious. And the stress level in our voice and the tone of our voice, there's an enormous amount of signal that we are sending to each other, but it's completely and totally unconscious. And I've talked to a number of body language experts, and they all agree with me. This is the only way that you can begin to impact your unconscious body language, facial micro expressions, communication. So When you do this exercise and you practice hanging in there, normally what happens is people get up in these stressful situations and they deliver their message, but all of their unconscious body language and signaling and facial micro expressions are leaking out their insecurity and their nervousness and their worry. So the messages aren't aligned. But when you do this exercise and you practice hanging in there, when you deliver your message, all of that unconscious signaling starts to line up behind your actual message instead of just leaking out all of your insecurity. So whenever you have a big and important communication event, I highly encourage you to do this exercise. I call it creating yourself and creating your audience. And once you've done that, hang in there and it will go much, much better for you. This is John Bates with Executive Speaking Success. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And I hope this makes a lifelong, lasting difference for you.